Why some people keep everyone at a distance. There's a message on the screen from someone they wanted to hear from. And that's exactly why they don't answer. Not because they don't care, because they do. Most conversations about distance begin with damage, with trauma, with diagnosis, with a clinical vocabulary that turns human beings into case studies. This is not that conversation. This is about something subtler, a pattern that develops so gradually over so many years that the person living inside it rarely notices it has formed at all. It doesn't look like damage. It looks like strength. It looks like someone who handles things, who doesn't need much, who seems entirely complete on their own. And in many ways they are. They've learned to manage emotions that once felt unmanageable. They built a life that doesn't require anyone's approval. They've become the person in the room who stays calm when others don't. What they haven't noticed is what it cost them to build all of that. Nobody decides to keep people at a distance. It happens in increments so small, they're almost invisible. A moment when asking for help produced embarrassment instead of support. A time when vulnerability was met with indifference. A relationship that ended in a way that made closeness seem like a liability. The nervous system learns fast. If connection has been followed by pain enough times, something quiet begins to shift. Not consciously, not with language or intention. The shift happens below thought. The body starts to associate closeness with danger, and so a protection strategy forms. Keep some space. Stay a little back. Don't need too much. Don't let anyone in far enough to actually hurt you. For a while, it works. The distance keeps out disappointment. It keeps out rejection. It keeps out the specific kind of pain that only comes from someone you trusted. The walls go up quietly, and for a long time they feel less like walls and more like wisdom. Here is the part that rarely gets said. The people who are best at keeping others at a distance are often not the people who want connection least. They are sometimes the people who want it most. The independence wasn't born from contentment. It was built from disappointment. The self-sufficiency wasn't a natural trait. It was a learned response to an environment where needing people didn't feel safe. And so the person becomes extraordinarily capable, calm under pressure, emotionally contained, reliable for everyone around them. But in their own life, in the private hours, something sits underneath all of that. Not loneliness exactly, something more specific. Because there is a kind of loneliness that has nothing to do with being alone. It belongs to the person who is surrounded by people and still somehow unreachable. Who has relationships, conversations, even warmth, but keeps the most important parts of themselves just slightly out of anyone's reach. The loneliest people are not always the ones who have nobody. Sometimes they are the ones who spent years quietly, carefully, convincing themselves they don't need anybody, and succeeded. They see a message and don't respond immediately, not because they're busy, but because responding feels like offering something they're not sure they can afford to give. They keep conversations light, even when they want to go deeper. They leave before things become important. They find reasons why this particular person, this particular connection, this particular moment of closeness isn't quite right. And after a while, they stop noticing they're doing it at all. Protection strategies are born in specific moments. A child who learned that emotional displays brought punishment becomes an adult who never cries in front of anyone. A teenager who was betrayed by someone close becomes an adult who never fully trusts. A person who experienced loss early becomes someone who keeps love at a manageable distance, just close enough to feel it, just far enough to survive its absence. These adaptations made sense once. They were intelligent responses to real conditions. But conditions change. Years pass. The original threat fades or disappears entirely. The people who are present now are not the people who were present then, and yet the protection remains. Because protection doesn't check whether the danger is still there. It just keeps running. The wall that once kept pain out now keeps everything out. The distance that once felt like safety now feels like something else. A way of living that has become strangely automatic, strangely familiar, and strangely hard to question. The wall stops protecting them from rejection. It starts protecting them from acceptance. Because rejection is familiar. Rejection confirms what the pattern already believes. That closeness leads to pain. That distance is the right instinct. That staying back was always the smarter choice. But acceptance is something different. Acceptance means someone actually saw them, the real version, and stayed. And that, for a person who has spent years keeping everyone at a careful distance, is more frightening than being turned away. Because now the wall has no justification. Now they would have to admit that the distance was never really about other people. This is where it becomes something harder to name. Because questioning the wall would mean asking, if I didn't need this anymore, who would I be without it? And for many people, the honest answer is, I don't know. Because the wall has been there so long that it stopped feeling like a wall. It started feeling like a personality. I'm just a private person. I'm not really built for that kind of closeness. I've always been better on my own. These are things a person says as though they were born this way, as though it were as fixed as their height or the color of their eyes. But private is not the same as protected. Self-sufficient is not the same as closed. Preferring solitude is not the same as being unable to tolerate being truly known. Somewhere along the way, the adaptation got mistaken for the person. The strategy that formed in response to something painful became the story of who they are. The learned behavior became the biography. The wall became the self. And when that happens, when a person has been living inside their protection for long enough, they stop seeing it entirely. They are not aware of keeping people out. They are just aware of preferring things this way. They have forgotten, completely and without drama, that they built it. The cost doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive as crisis. It doesn't come with a name. It arrives as a pattern of almost close with someone, almost letting it become something real, almost being known. The person finds themselves surrounded by people who describe them as strong, capable, reliable, and somehow feels more invisible than ever. Because to be known for your strength when your struggle is something different is a very specific kind of loneliness. They have built a life that looks entirely complete from the outside, and sometimes it feels complete, but sometimes in a quiet moment, after an interaction that nearly became something more, they are aware of a gap. Not between them and other people, between who they allow themselves to be in public and who they are in the private hours when no one is watching. That gap is the cost. Not dramatic, not catastrophic, but cumulative and real. Why do people pull away from what they actually want? Because wanting something makes you vulnerable to not having it. And if experience has taught a person that vulnerability leads to pain, then wanting less, or appearing to want less, becomes a form of self-defense. The phone goes face down not because the connection doesn't matter, but because it matters too much. Why does independence feel lonely? Because independence built from disappointment and independence built from contentment look identical from the outside. One is freedom, the other is a fortress. Both can feel like the same thing for years. What happens when a protection strategy outlives the danger that created it? It doesn't disappear, it becomes identity. The person no longer experiences it as a response to something. They experience it as simply who they are. Private, self-contained, not needing much. And somewhere underneath that, quietly, without drama, still hoping that someone will eventually see past all of it. The question is not whether distance is ever justified. The question is whether the distance is still a choice. Because sometimes the walls stop being something we built and start being something we live inside. Real change rarely arrives dramatically. It begins the moment a person finally asks the question they've been avoiding. The next time you pull back from something you actually want, pause before you do. Not to force yourself forward, not to override the instinct, just to ask it one honest question. Is this still necessary? Have you ever realized you were keeping someone at a distance without meaning to? What did that feel like when you noticed it? Leave it in the comments. Quiet patterns.